Hello, hello. I'm Alexander K on life. Okay, so let's get right into it. Richard Gere, a famous Hollywood actor. One of his most iconic roles was Pretty Woman. Yep. So that's who I'm talking about today. So I saw him on Facebook, and he was in New York City pretending to be homeless. So dressed up like a homeless man, uh, panhandled. And he wrote about that experience. No one recognized him as a homeless person. People just ignored him. He's quite a good actor. I don't have any opinions about him personally. I don't know him. And I want to talk about him because he said that the experience of being homeless for a day or whatever was awful. He was ignored. People looked at him with, hatred. Now, of course, he is doing it in New York City. So in Manhattan is one of the most awful places in the world to be homeless, probably. So that didn't help. But then he went off and gave, after he was done with that experiment, not gave everybody, but walked around to homeless people himself and was giving $100 bills away. And he liked the light in their eyes as their faces lit up. I have a few things to say about this. I want to talk about homelessness in general. In my experience, homelessness is not it's not what it appears to be. It's not actually that you don't have a home or a roof over your head. That's part of the external condition. But I would say homelessness, actual real homelessness, is hopelessness. So it's when you could be living outside, you could be living with people inside, but you have no hope for a future. And it also is a state where you're not being loved. In my experience, when you give money to someone who is homeless, just looking them in their eye and giving them attention and say, here's something, they can feel the energy. If you give them money and take it, they'll feel that. If you give it to them and say, hey man, what's your name? Here, have this. Can I buy you something? And they can feel. It's not just about the money or food, although that's definitely part of it. It's about giving them attention and with love or compassion, and they will respond to that and feel it. And the reason is because how do you think that they ended up in a place like that? Do you think that these are bad people? I saw comments saying, well, don't you know those people are on drugs, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So people who are on drugs are bad? What about all the people on antidepressants? Are they bad? They're on drugs? No, they contribute to society. They have a roof over their head, but they're not happy. Are those people hopeless? So I think that there's a much bigger problem of homelessness, if you want to expand the definition of what it is, than we realize. I grew up in a home where I had a roof over my head, I was fed, but I remember at a certain time where I felt homeless internally, inside. You can say, well, I was taken care of, I was loved. No. When you're living in an environment where there's no love, or you grow up in one, you might end up on the street because you have no internal value for yourself. That's why you do drugs, because you feel that you're worthless. And who taught you that? Maybe society, maybe your parents, maybe a bully at school, maybe experiences. Homelessness is, in my opinion, is really the result of a person not knowing that they are loved. It's easy to criticize them and say, well, that they would just get a job. Maybe they would get a job if they thought they had some worth. Maybe it's easier to be taken care of by society or panhandling. If you think you have any value, you won't accept. You'll do anything you can to not accept a condition like that. I have lived out on the street myself. Not for long periods of time, maybe twice in my life, six months to a year, both times. So I can say I know what it's like, probably more than Richard Gere, because I think his experiment wasn't very long, and he has access to resources. So this idea of having empathy and compassion for those who are less fortunate than us is a really good one. And I applaud Mr. Gere for doing that. I mean, it's very admirable that he would even think in this way. But I want to say that homelessness is more than just having no roof over your head. I preferred being outside. I felt safer, quote unquote, even though I technically wasn't safer, living outside than I did living with my family. And the reason is because I didn't feel loved. In my opinion, there was no love in the home. There was, yeah. Or if there was, I wasn't able to absorb it. I absorbed something else. And it was in contradiction to what my soul needed, which was love, positive attention, encouragement, empathy. Those things make my soul flourish. So there was a deep cavity inside of me where I may have had food, I may have had shelter, but I preferred to be away from that environment, even if it was outside, even if I was just living off of handouts from the local food bank or whatever. I think it was in Vancouver. It was I would go to breakfast. If you were under 21, you could go to breakfast to get free breakfast, and I knew the place where you could get good vegetables in the evening. I know all the spots. And a lot of the people who were there were actually drug addicts, or they came from really abusive homes. And I thought that I was different because I didn't do drugs. I thought, oh, I'm different from them. But when I look back, I don't think I was. Because I think whether I did drugs or not, and I never did, abuse comes in many different forms. Psychological abuse or torment is, in my opinion, one of the worst. Because people who abuse like that aim to eradicate your soul and steal your identity and your soul energy. And I thought in my last video from last week, I talked about the dark and light feminine aspects, and how the negative feminine aspect, the dark feminine, destroys utterly. But the positive side, it nurtures, So if you grew up in an environment where you had that dark feminine mother archetype, before having a healthy relationship, you have to kind of heal that wound. So what is homelessness? Technically, yes, it is to live outside without shelter, where you are helpless, cannot take care of yourself, or refuse to. But I would say that the root cause to homelessness is a lack of love in families, in society, and a lack of compassion and empathy. The people you see out there on the street, they need money, but they really need is love. And it's why Richard Gere was giving $100 bills, but even if you give 5 or 1, just give. If you want to give someone who's homeless, don't even think I'm giving them money, they can make a job, what are they going to do? They're going to get drunk. Yeah, they might. But that's up to them. It doesn't matter what they do with it. The fact is that you're giving without expectation. And if you are moved to do so, you should. because they will feel that. And that could be one act that can change someone to realize, hey, they have value. Look at them in the face. Look at them in the eye and say, what is your name? Nice to meet you. This is all I have. Or, I'm sorry, I don't have anything today. I hope you have a good day. They'll even take that. I think that Mr. Gere's comments wasn't that people weren't giving him money. His comment was, they are treating me badly. So it's not that he wasn't being given money when he was pretending to be homeless. They were treating him with hatred, and they were treating him bad. So to make a small difference, you could see someone like that, and if you feel moved to, treat them nicely, with compassion. To say, I don't know your story, or think, I don't know that person's story. I'm going to just let them know I see them. And then you let it go. Okay, so those are my ideas and thoughts on homelessness, which was kind of in reaction to Richard Gere's experiment. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comment section. And subscribe to my channel for more weekly conversations. Like this video, and